cronies, have you ever felt watched? Maybe when you walk for a glass of water in the middle of the night, when you go for a run before the sun comes out, or whenever you're pulling out of your garage in your way to work? Well, cronies, I can assure you, this is not just paranoia, as it might very well be true. This is a real story of the Watcher. In 2014, this happened to the Broaddus family when finally, after a long time of craving a new house for themselves, Derek and Maria Broaddus bought their dream 6-bedroom house in 657 Boulevard, Westfield, New Jersey. But 3 days after the couple closed the deal, Derek Broaddus received the first of several ominous letters from someone who went only by the name of the Watcher. When the couple, along with their 3 children who were 5, 8, and 10 years old respectively, moved all their belongings into the Westfield $1.3 million home between June and August 2014, they never imagined they were about to live a horrible nightmare. The house was built in 1905 and, according to the listing on Zillow, has approximately 3,290 square feet set on nearly half an acre. The Broaddus family bought it for $1,355,000 and spent about $100,000 on renovations. Everything seemed like a dream come true for the family, the American dream to be precise, since Derek, even though born into a working-class family, thrived his way up the hierarchy of an insurance company until finally, after his 40th birthday, he could afford the house his family longed for. But one chilly night on June 2014, Derek went to check his mail outside, unaware that it would be the beginning of a frightening and traumatic experience. Since they had just moved into the house just a few days earlier, he didn't expect to receive much correspondence besides a few bills. Suddenly, as he shuffled through the thin bunch, he noticed an envelope with no return address that was directed to the new owner. The letter read, "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood." Pretty neighborly and friendly beginning, he thought, when immediately the letter took a turn for the worst. "And as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s and my father watched it in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out." That was enough to make Derek feel pretty uneasy. Still, he kept reading. "I see already that you have flooded 657 Boulevard with contractors so that you can destroy the house as it was supposed to be. Bad move. You don't want to make 657 Boulevard unhappy." What came after this unsettled Derek even worse, since it confirmed that this stranger had been observing and stalking his family. "You have children. I have seen them. So far I think there are 3 that I have counted. Are there more on the way? Do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested? Better for me. Was your old house too small for the growing family? Or was it great to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me." The Watcher had an obvious ability to get inside the reader's mind, provoking dread and anxiety. He wanted to incite paranoia and distrust as the letter continued. "Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am in one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Look out any of the many windows in 657 Boulevard at all the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. The note ended with a disturbing assurance. Welcome, my friends, welcome. Let the party begin. The Watcher. That night, after calling the police as soon as he had finished reading the letter, he also emailed John and Andrea Woods, the couple of retired scientists who sold him the house, and asked them about the creepy stranger, since the letter also mentioned that he had asked the Woods to bring him young blood, and it looked like they listened. Even though the next morning they answered that they had indeed received one letter just before moving out, they assured Derek that in the whole 23 years that they had lived there, that had never happened before, and the letter was more strange than threatening, thanking them for taking care of the house. Thus, they disregarded it immediately. Needless to say, the couple was beyond afraid, so the next few days they acted with extreme precaution. 2 weeks after the first letter arrived, Maria Broaddus found the second letter. The workers have been busy and I have been watching you unload carfuls of your personal belongings. The dumpster is a nice touch. Have they found what is in the walls yet? In time, they will. I am pleased to know your names now, and the name of the young blood you have brought to me. You certainly say their names often. This suggested that the Watcher was close enough while stalking them to hear all the names and nicknames of the family members. The letter continued. 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It has been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all of the secrets in holes yet? Will the young blood play in the basement? Or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. Will they sleep in the attic, or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better. All of the windows and doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I am the Watcher, and have been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. The Woods family turned it over to you. It was your time to move on, and kindly sold it when I asked them to. I pass by many times in a day. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession. And now you are too, Broaddus family. Welcome to the product of your greed. Greed is what brought the past 3 families to 657 Boulevard, and now it has brought you to me. Have a happy moving day. You know I will be watching. Several theories started to form. At first, the most convincing one being that the Watcher might be someone upset over losing out on the house, since the home was the most impressive of the block. Still, nothing definitive. Detective Leonard Lugo of the Westfield police was the one handling the case since the first time they reported the letters in that cold night of June 2014, and, in collaboration with the owners, came up with Michael Langford as prime suspect of the letters, one of the younger sons of Peggy Langford, the 90-year-old next-door neighbor who had several adult children, all who lived with her. This stand out as a good theory since the Langford family was recognized by other neighbors as quite odd, and also the Langfords were the only family that lived in the neighborhood since the 1960s, when the Watcher's father, according to the letters, had begun observing the house. According to his brother, Sandy Langford, Michael had been diagnosed with schizophrenia as a young man, He sometimes spooked newcomers to the neighborhood when he did strange things, like walk through their backyard or peek into the windows of homes that were being renovated. But those who knew him knew that the odd things he did were mostly just unusual neighborly kindness. Nevertheless, Detective Lugo brought Michael Langford to police headquarters for an interview, but Michael denied everything, claiming having no knowledge of the situation, and with no hard evidence, there wasn't really anything the police could do against the suspect. The awful journey continued with Derek obsessing over security in the house, installing all kinds of security alarms and cameras, frustrated for the lack of action of the police. Eventually, he hired 2 ex-FBI agents who work as private investigators. By the end of 2014, the Westfield police told the Broaddus's they had run out of options and that the investigation had stalled, since the watcher had left no digital trail, no fingerprints, and no way to place someone at the scene of the crime. After receiving another letter where the watcher seemed to be getting crazier, they decided to move with Derek's in-laws. Both Derek and Maria were resenting hard consequences of this terrible situation, from sleep deprivation and constant nightmares to the deterioration of their own relationship with constant fighting and disagreements. After 6 months since the first letter, they decided to sell the house. On June 2, 2015, a year after buying 657 Boulevard, they filed a legal complaint against the Woodses, arguing that the Woodses should have disclosed the letter. The story went absolutely viral after a local reporter found the Broaddus' complaint. Needless to say, internet users obsessed over the matter, including Reddit users who began to claim that through Google Maps Street View, they had found a car parked in front of the house, and one user thought he saw a man holding a camera in the driver's seat. Others more rationally dismissed this. Afterwards, the investigation led to other possibilities that in the end turned unfruitful. One of these was when investigators conducted a DNA analysis of the letters and concluded that it belonged to a woman. The prospect that Abby Langford, Michael's sister, who worked as a real estate agent, could be the author of the notes arise. But after a tricky maneuver to get some DNA from her, they ruled her out because the sample didn't match her DNA. So eventually, without explaining themselves, the prosecutor's office determined to rule out the Langfords as suspects. After a year of the arrival of the first letter, the Westfield police found themselves with no evidence or leads. Later on, it was reported that they even missed a transcendental hint that could have helped with the investigation. One of the neighbors of the Broaddus received a letter very similar to the one the family had received, and even in the same period of time, but they dismissed it automatically, never getting another one again. Eventually, the internet and even people that live in the neighborhood came up with the theory that maybe the Broaddus had sent the letters to themselves for the purpose of performing a con, because they realized they couldn't afford the house or even to commit an insurance fraud. The Broaddus started to feel like outcasts on the community on top of all the other horrible stuff they had experienced. Later on, the family found someone to rent 657 Boulevard. The tenant even told a local newspaper that he wasn't worried about the watcher, though he had a clause in the lease that let him out in case of another letter. 2 weeks later after the fact, and 2.5 years after the first appearance of the watcher, the tenant handed Derek a letter that read,
"Violent, winsome, bitter cold, to the violent, spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife Maria. You wonder who the watcher is? Turn around, idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so-called neighbors who has no idea who the watcher could be. Or maybe you do know, and are too scared to tell anyone. Good move."
The letter also indicated that a retaliation could come in many forms.
Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away, but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet, loved ones suddenly die, planes and cars and bicycles crash, bones break.
Thankfully, nothing happened. After 5 years, in 2019, Derek and Maria Broaddus were finally free of the infamous Westfield Watcher home as they sold it for $950,000. The home was closed on July 1st and now belongs to Andrew and Allison Carr, according to the Union County Clerk's Office. The Broaddus family sold the movie rights of their story to Netflix since their chilling tale caught the attention of several Hollywood big shots, along with other streaming companies, just for Netflix to win what was called a ferocious bidding battle with other big-name studios that included Universal for Jason Blum, Warner Brothers for Roy Lee, Paramount for J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot, Amazon for producer Michael Sugar, and Fox for Peter Chernin. And in the end, cronies, the Watcher was never caught. He still roams freely, following and observing someone else. Maybe even you.